Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I wanted to talk a bit about mental health and how it pertains to boxers. I suppose boxers are not really that much different from other people because mental health can affect all of us. But I do think that the pressure that boxers are under, physically and mentally, to do that very, very arduous thing for a living, you know, to get constantly punched in the face, to get constantly punched in the head, you know, which can damage you neurologically long term and therefore alter your behaviours, your moods and so on. I think they're at a risk, and mental health issues amongst boxers it's an important issue. But before I go any further, let's just define what we mean by mental health, because unfortunately that phrase, in inverted commas, mental health, seems to be a huge net that is cast over lots and lots of different behaviours and diagnoses, and in a sense it's cast, I think, too wide, the net, because words like depression, anxiety, conditions like OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, you know, behavioural issues, personality disorders and so on, they are clinical definitions. For better or worse, they are they're categories that people are put into, and sometimes having and putting a name to something can be quite liberating, because it makes you feel, okay, I have been identified, I've been recognised as having this condition, now I can address it. There again, the flip side of that is there's a tendency perhaps to put too many people into too many boxes. So, for example, every kid that misbehaves has got ADHD. Everyone who is suffering from low moods has got depression. Everyone who's feeling apprehensive has got anxiety. This is a bad mistake, and it's very, very frequent, because I think words like depression, anxiety, and phrases like OCD are abused and misused frequently. I think, and I base this on the evidence of personal experience, but also, I mean, I work with drug and alcohol clients. I deal with a lot of people who've got mental health issues brought on by their drugs. There's a lot of trauma in their past as well, a lot of them. But I think that we need to start thinking a little bit differently about certain aspects of this subject. I would much prefer it if we recognised some people as having trauma, having certain issues that are more related to, shall we say, emotional illness rather than mental illness. To me, say if someone's mentally ill, they're removed from reality. You know, I've dealt with people who don't know what day it is, can't function at all. They're delusional. They can't remember what happened either yesterday or 20 years ago. They cannot differentiate between reality, the fantasies that are in their head, and the reality of what they've lived through and where they are currently. These depression, anxiety, these are clinical terms. If you have real depression, it's because it means you can't get out of the house. It means you can't read a page of a book and soak it up. It means that you can't, you can go for a walk and you can be out for 5 hours and not even realise how long you've been out for. You might go out and you might forget where you live. You've got no energy. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you just stay in bed all day. You cannot move. You don't know what day it is. You don't care. You don't care about yourself. You've lost touch with reality and being able to function. It's the same for anxiety. If you're nervous because you're getting onto an airplane, you don't like flying, that's not clinical anxiety. That's a certain form of anxiety. You feel anxious because you're doing something you don't want to do. You go for a job interview. Maybe you're a little nervous about job interviews. So beforehand you're feeling apprehensive. It's not proper anxiety. Again, somebody dies. Let's say your mum dies, your child dies, your dad dies, whoever it is, someone that you really love, they die. And you're shedding tears and you're feeling low, but that's natural. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying you don't need help. You don't need support, shall we say. But it's not necessarily a mental health condition. I see this all the time. I see people who, you know, they're taking a ton of drugs, for example, or they're drinking a ton of booze and they're depressed. Well, first of all, a lot of the stuff they take is a depressant anyway, so they're going to feel like crap. And secondly, that they're losing their lives. Their lives are in the shitter. So what do you think they're going to feel like? What do they think they're going to feel like? They need support and they need help, but they don't necessarily have mental health issues. On the other hand, I've met, you know, people who believe they're Napoleon, or, you know, they're walking down the street thinking they're, I don't know, you know, they're in Monte Carlo when really they're in the sort of local local ghetto, you know, about to get mugged for their benefit money. It's a detachment from reality that, to me, spills over into a proper mental health issue. If you still have mental capacity but you feel low or you feel anxious, that's a different subject entirely. Now, I mentioned all this because Adrian Broner was going to fight Omar Figueroa and he pulled out citing mental health issues. Okay, fair enough. Ryan Garcia, not so long ago, was talking about mental health issues. He took some time out of boxing. He talked about his mental health. Now, I'm absolutely recognising that mental health problems do exist within boxing because of the fact that it is terribly stressful to do all these training camps, to go into that ring, to fight other people in front of everyone, either millions of people or just 500 people in a small hall. And then if you get knocked down or you get cut and there's blood flying everywhere and you're taking a beating and people are cheering and you might get knocked out, they might cheer. It's terribly stressful on the mind as well as the body. Some fighters lose a fight, it's a tough fight, they're never the same again. They just can't handle it mentally. Others, it's the opposite. Others, it motivates them to come back, you know. And of course, the amount of punishment to the head, which changes your neurology, that can be long term. That can be a very damaging thing, you know, because as our brains, a lot of people who have brain injuries, let's say a car accident, for example, and they have some sort of neurological damage, you know, they become, people around them say, oh, it's like a different person. That's not the person I knew, because they're snappy, suddenly they're you know, short-tempered, or they burst into tears for no reason, or they just can't think straight, or, you know. So, and boxers face all of this. So I'm not poo-pooing the idea of that boxers need support. I just wish there was a bit of a different sort of paradigm where people would not presume that everything is a mental health issue, that they would perhaps defer it to more of it being an emotional issue, where perhaps the person needs to just step outside for a little while, get themselves together. See, I think this is true, very true of Anthony Joshua recently. You know, some of the interviews he gave in the immediate aftermath of the Usyk defeat, the first fight, it looked to me like he needed to just go away and get himself together and rediscover his identity. It did not look as if he was having mental health problems. It looked as if he was having some sort of emotional issue. One might even say a crisis. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I'm reading between the lines here, and I might be wrong, but that to me wasn't a mental health issue. If he'd said, "I'm going to go away. I've lost to Usyk. I need time to." Now, as it happens, that rematch was cancelled for reasons to do with the Ukraine war, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and Usyk went over there, and blah blah blah. You know the story. So Joshua had more time than he thought he'd have to get everything together. And I'm recording this video a few days before the rematch with Usyk. I've done a separate prediction video on it if you want to look at it. But he had more time to get his mind together, because a huge amount of boxing is mental. Someone said that, you know, in training it's 90% physical, 10% psychological. When you're in the ring, it's 10% physical and 90% psychological. I think it was Adam Booth said that. I absolutely agree with that. I really, really do. And if Joshua had gone away and said, and let's say declined the rematch, which was imminent, and he said, no, I'm going to go away, I'm going to get myself together, he wouldn't have needed to say, well, I'm getting my mental health together, because the man's always had mental capacity. As probably, I don't know about Broner, he's a bit of a wild card, isn't he? But I don't think that every fighter that steps away from the game for a while is suffering from mental health issues or needs to get their mental health together. I think it's more a case of they just need to chill out for a while and not, just step back a bit. And I don't think that's a mental health issue. I think you need to have lost mental capacity to be suffering from a mental health issue. So in the case of Broner, Ryan Garcia, anyone else you care to mention, by all means we offer them support, absolutely agree with that. But I'm a little bit reticent to say, that everything that goes on between a boxer's ears is their mental health. Yeah. Just a few thoughts on the subject. You take someone like Frank Bruno, I mean, he's done some fantastic, he was sectioned. He did have mental health issues, he was properly sectioned. And he's done a lot of fantastic work for charity. He's got his own mental health charity. I think he's a patron of certain other organisations. I think he did some work with Mind. More power to him. But not everyone who goes through some sort of internal crisis is suffering from a mental health issue. And I think we need to sort of reclaim those words, reclaim depression, anxiety, personality disorders, OCD, all these things, reclaim them as clinical diagnoses and not just chuck them around willy-nilly, misuse and abuse them, because they are proper definitions. Because if you literally throw everything into the same pot, the people that are really suffering from these ailments get lost in the mix, and I think that's a really bad thing. So I know Broner's a bit of a tit, but I wish him luck. I wish any boxer, I wish anyone who's suffering from mental health issues or just emotional problems, I wish them nothing but the very best. Seek help, don't be afraid of, leave your ego at the door, seek help if you need help. And there's nothing bad about looking out for yourself, putting yourself first, taking some time out, admitting, I need a bit of a rest here mentally. And reaching out for help to family, friends, professionals, Like I say, I deal with people every day who have, issues. Keep using that word, not issues, but that's what they have, problems, Yeah, all right, well, just thought I'd say that. Leave your comments below if you've got any. And thanks for your time as always. Subscribe to the channel. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's get the subscribers up. Many thanks for your time, and like the video if you liked it. We'll speak soon. Bye for now.